We will call the regular meeting to order at 7 o'clock. Do we have a roll call, please?
We can. Council members Powers?
Here.
Singleton?
Here.
Shelton?
Here.
Cruz?
Here.
Payne?
Here. I would invite you to join me in a moment of silent prayer, followed by the flag salute. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would you read the video statement, please?
This meeting of the Galt City Council has been videotaped in its entirety and will be cablecast without interruption on Metro Cable 14, the Government Affairs channel, on the Comcast and SureWest cable systems. Tonight's meeting can be seen on Channel 14 and will also be webcast at www.saxmetrocable.tv this Friday and Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. Tonight's meeting can also be seen via live video streaming on the city's website at www.ci.galt.ca.us. A DVD copy is also available for checkout from any library branch. Members of the audience wishing to address council should fill out a speaker identification form and give it to the clerk. Please speak into the microphone when addressing council and state your name for the record.
Thank you. At this time, I would ask if there's any additions or deletions to the agenda, or is the agenda approved? Okay, thank you. Then we will go to presentations, and I believe we have Kevin Papineau that's going to speak at this time. Surprise! Someone told me that. Am I going to read it? Yeah, do you want me to read it? Present it?
Well, I hadn't planned on speaking. My name's Kevin Papineau. I'm a member of the Galt Elementary School Board, and I came here understanding that there was a proclamation to take place supporting our libraries and the efforts underway to try and save them. We ran out quite a while ago of expendable things to cut from our district budget, and unfortunately the libraries were something that we did have to remove. So we have had tremendous outpouring of community support, and it's great to see that it sounds like we're about to receive a little bit more, and we're hoping to perhaps see some of it coming from Sacramento in the future too.
Okay. Well, then at this time we will read the proclamation that we will be presenting to you.
Okay, proclaiming that the City Council of the City of Galt supports the Galt Joint Union Elementary School District's fundraising efforts. Whereas the City Council of the City of Galt and the Galt Joint Union Elementary School District have a mutual interest in providing adequate library services for the benefit of the children in the community, and whereas the district has been forced by the state budget crisis to close libraries in order to ensure all schools remain open, and whereas the district has announced a public fundraising effort with parents and community volunteers to reopen the libraries, and whereas the City Council of the City of Galt wishes to support these efforts and wants to help reopen the libraries, whereas the district is starting a library services fundraising campaign with a goal to raise $106,000 for 2012-13 and $106,000 for 2013-14. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the City Council of the City of Galt that they hereby support the Galt Joint Union Elementary School District's efforts in every way and wishes them luck in their endeavors to raise money to reopen libraries and provide library services.
And I would have to ask John Gordon and Dr. Showers also to come up to the podium.
And if I could just add, Lisa Klotz is not here tonight, that she's kind of spearheading this, and I understand we have some people here kind of representing in her place. And since they're really doing all the work here, if they could come down too.
Sure.
Everybody come down.
We weren't going to let you be the only person that's supporting it. And this is definitely a group effort, and you know the city values our youth above all other things. So it's important for everyone to go. Here's the proclamation, and I know Al Baldwin will want to take a picture of everybody here. Switch in. Thank you. How's this?
Okay, you gotta smile, you gotta keep your eyes open. Okay? I think pretty. 1, 2, 3. Big smile, eyes open. Yes. Oh, excellent. See, I don't take it once, it works.
It is my honor to present this to all of you. I don't mean it's a hope, but you can carry it out. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So now we will go to public comment.
Okay, under Government Code, Section 54954.3, members of the public may address the council on non-agenda items. Speakers may address council on any agenda item during consideration of the item. Speakers shall restrict their comments to issues that are within the subject jurisdiction of the City Council and limit comments to a maximum of 3 minutes. Please fill out a speaker sheet located on the table inside the entrances to the council chambers and forward the completed speaker sheet to the city clerk. As a courtesy to others, please silence all cell phones. And Al Baldwin. You're first. After Al, Fred Gaethel.
You get to go first, Al.
Okay, thank you very much. Al Baldwin, one of the concerned citizens of Galt. I want to be here to give you some thank yous. We had, and I won't say where it is because it's not that important. The thing that I want to thank you for is the quick service. I sometimes go around the community and I find things that I personally would like to see or other people would like to see cleaned up and things. And so I do certain things and I go and I request that they get done if possible. And this is the fastest thing that I've ever had done by the city. I went to Rusty over there and it was probably, and showed him everything that I had and the pictures I took and everything. And within probably 3-4 days, I got a phone call, and it was in process of being cleaned up, this area. And then I got another phone call, and it was a follow-up from our city manager, which was great, Jason, and explained what was going to happen and asked, could we do this? And I said, fine. We discussed certain things. And lo and behold, I mentioned this to some people, and they says, good luck. You're not going to get that done. And I says, it's in the process. Well, I got to see it to believe it. I'll make you a bet. And I says, well, I don't really bet, but I think I'll get back to you as quick as I can as soon as I see progress. So I've been taking pictures of this thing that's going on, and it's working great. Within 10 days, 15 days at the most, but 10 days, it was in progress, and it was working today. I talked to the people down there saying, yeah, you're doing a good job. It's really looking good. It hasn't been completed yet, but let me tell you, it's there and it's working. So I wanted to say thank you to the city for all the help, Rusty and our city manager. It's a real positive thing. It makes me feel good that I'm going through the right channels this time instead of the other time, Mary Lou. And it's working much better. So, and real quick, if I could, I saw the fireworks the other night, and the fireworks were great. It seems like very similar fireworks every year, but they were great. They were colorful, they were bright, and it looked like they were higher this year too. I don't know if they were, but they looked like they were higher, maybe a different area. I would recommend that you look into, I don't know what the cost is, laser fireworks, or not fireworks, but laser displays, if you haven't already, but I could see that with music and all kinds of the skies lighting up and people singing along with the music maybe, and I just think you could, if you could do that, if you can afford to do it. I don't know if it's any more expensive than fireworks, but it sure is a lot safer, a lot cleaner, and you could do it even Christmas time with no big deal really with the laser lights. You could do it at special things too. It's just perfect. So if you could look into it, I would appreciate it. But thank you very much for everything.
Al, a couple of things before you leave. Are you going to share with us the project that you have going that's being cleaned up? Or do you want to keep that a secret?
See, it wasn't about the project, but if you want, I can. On 3rd and F Street, where the old Stagel milk plant was, it was, in my opinion, and sort of an eyesore because it had a tower that was rusting out on the top. The weeds were growing up at least a foot, maybe more. The fences were coming down. Kids were playing in the field. It was unsafe. And then when I zoomed in with my camera, because I didn't notice it before, but when I zoomed in with my camera on the tower, there was graffiti all on it. So that gave me a little more power to get it done, because it has to be removed, right? According to.
Right. Absolutely.
But the thing was, it's been an eyesore. It's been a safety challenge for a lot of people. The kids were over there playing in it all the time. The fences were down. People were playing by the tower up there. So I said, I've got to do something. And so that's when I started my little project. I asked the Historical Society about the tower, and we discussed it, and we really didn't have any major use for it. We couldn't put it at McFarland or anywhere else that we could use it. And the restoration on that tower with it rust the way it is, I'm not sure that it could be restored maybe at the point where it's at. So, with the help of the city manager and Rusty, it's going to be sandblasted and repainted. And it should look nice. It'll look like a park over there. And if you could get some green paint and paint the weeds when they cut them all down or something, that would be nice. But it's going to be a better site than it was before.
And then the second thing I was going to say, with all those good suggestions you had for the fireworks, are you volunteering for next year to be on the committee?
Oh, hey, you want my ideas? I will not turn down a committee if you want ideas and things. Of course, you may not listen to all of them, but at least, you know, we can throw them out at you, and you'll happen to think about them.
Okay,
But no problem, that'd be great.
I think we have that in a minute, Sam, that next year you'll be part of the committee to help.
Appreciate it. It's no problem. It's all
Thanks,
opportunity
Al.
with me. Thank you.
Okay. Fred Cecil.
Good evening, Fred Gable. Barbara asked me to come tonight to talk a little bit about the mosquito activity in Sacramento County. We're currently in the worst year for West Nile virus that we've seen since it arrived in California in 2005. And sadly, Sacramento County seems to be the epicenter for the state. We're seeing the most activity. When you go out to the state websites and you look at dead birds, it's Sacramento, 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 you know, it's this constant list. To put it into a little perspective, so far this year, there's been 212 dead birds detected. Last year, to the end of the season, there were 153. Mosquito pools are at 136 so far. Last year, at the end of the season, it was 388. So we're a little behind on the mosquitoes, but we're making up for it in the dead birds. The birds are primarily crows, magpies, scrub jays, mockingbirds, that kind of thing. If you do see a dead bird and it's fresh and it's not, you know, it hadn't been hit by a car, it just sort of looks like it dropped out of the sky, you can report it at the website, which is www.fightthebite.net. In the lower right-hand corner of the home page, there's a report a dead bird link. You can also call 1-877-968-2473, which is the West Nile virus hotline for the California Department of Public Health. Galt has been relatively spared. We've had one dead bird on Lincoln Way, just south of C Street. There was another one that they report in Galt, but it's really on Twin Cities out close to I-5. Somehow that gets called Galt. I don't know how. To me, it's Hood Franklin, but and there's sort of been a line at Grant Line Road where it didn't appear there was much activity south of Grant Line Road until 2 weeks ago. And in the last 2 weeks, we've had 13 dead birds out of Wilton, and it's coming further south. So it's spread past that. We've put airplanes up twice to do aerial spraying. The first time it was 30,000 acres over South Sac and Elk Grove. The second one was just this past Monday and Tuesday. It was 70,000 acres. It was most of Elk Grove, all of South Sac, most of Sacramento south of 50, and then 10,000 acres up next to McClellan Park. So and I don't think this is going to be the last time we put the plane up. If people are concerned about spraying, they can go to our website. There's a place on the website where you can sign up for email notifications of treatments going on by zip code. The one complaint we've had about the planes is people didn't know, and how they didn't know, I don't know. I saw it on the news constantly. It was in the Bee twice, but if they want to, they can go to our website, and then they'll automatically be notified if there's any activity down here with spraying. So right now,
Thanks, Fred. I know that we did find, and when you say dead birds, you mean they've been tested and
yeah, we've actually tested almost 500, I think. One day, it was a week ago Monday, they had about 30 reports in one day. It was so bad that our technicians couldn't do it. They were like, if you really want it tested, bring it in, because we just can't run around picking up birds all day long.
And I think our message is going to be to everyone to be sure and wear insect repellent and look for standing water. Dump the doggy's dish if you have to frequently.
Yep.
And
we list the 7 Ds out on our website, which is drain, defend, dawn and dusk, and I don't know all of them. Sadly, I know I'm pretty big on wearing long sleeves or using a lot of repellent at dawn and dusk.
And with summer here, we'll all be outside more, so
yeah,
that's
it
why
really is a worthwhile investment, and it's particularly important for people. I don't want to say elderly because I don't consider 45 or 50 to be elderly, but it starts, West Nile becomes much more severe in the age range of 45 to 50. It's much more likely to go into the neuroinvasive disease portion, which is just horrible. So, it's even more important for the adults over 45 or 50 to get, and young children.
Okay.
Absolutely. Is there any reason that anyone knows of why it's so intense down here in our area, or is?
We've been having a discussion about that. There's been a lot of talk about mosquitoes overwintering because it was a mild winter, late rains, whatever. Currently, the feeling out of CVEC, which is the California Vector Control, they're an agency out of UC Davis, is that when it hit 2005, it wiped out the bird population. It decimated it. They'd never been exposed. Over the next 6-7 years, we'd watched it, and the bird populations had not rebounded. They were slowly coming back. We think this year we finally got the bird population back to what it had been previous to the introduction of West Nile in this area. And these are all birds that have not been bitten, and that's the reservoir for it. And these birds had not had any exposure. So now when they're getting bitten, they're dropping literally right out of the sky. That's the current thinking on it, but nobody's really sure why it suddenly ballooned to where it is and why Sacramento. Partly Sacramento is because, and this is going to sound a little conceited, but we're widely recognized as one of the top districts in the country. And as our manager likes to say, if you look for it, you're going to find it. And we're constantly looking. So part of it's that, but it's also, in fact, I've had some newspaper articles sent to me from other counties that are writing about it going, yeah, thank God we're not Sacramento.
Okay. Thanks,
Thank
Fred.
you.
Are there any other questions or comments? I appreciate your coming and giving us a report on that. Okay, consent calendar. Would you read that, please?
Yes, we have 3 items tonight. This- Number 1, approval of the minutes of the special meeting of May 29th, 2012, and the regular and special meetings of June 19th, 2012. Number 2, approval of the City of Galt warrants. And number 3, approval of the proclamation supporting the Galt Joint Union Elementary School District's fundraising efforts.
Okay. You've heard the consent calendar. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
We have a motion and a second. Was there any other discussion? If not, I would call for the vote.
Vice Mayor Powers? Aye. Councilmember Singleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Shelton?
Aye.
Councilmember Cruz? Mayor Payne?
Aye. Motion passed unanimously. Next item, please.
Next item, under City Attorney's Office, City Council Health Benefits.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I have a string of items tonight.
Yes, you do.
I apologize in advance for barraging you with these items. The first item on City Council Health Benefits is contains a revision to the Municipal Code, Chapter 2.12, and the adoption of a related resolution. And the purpose for these changes are to clarify and update the provisions relating to the availability of health benefits for council members and to satisfy certain eligibility requirements for council members to participate in the CalPERS health program that was approved by the council on June 14th. If you took a look at the existing section, or chapter 2.12, it's divided into 3 sections. It deals with city council rules and procedures, and there's essentially no changes with that provision. It also deals with city council salaries. There's no changes on that provision as well. But when you get down to health benefits, there's actually 4 separate paragraphs that are currently in our municipal code. One section deals with current members, city council members. There's another paragraph that deals with former city council members serving between 1981 and 1994. The third paragraph on former members who want to participate at their cost. And yet another paragraph dealing with former spouses and dependents of former city council members. So the first thing is I've taken those 4 paragraphs and I've combined them into one paragraph.
Thank you.
And the existing, or the proposed new paragraph would say that council members shall be eligible for health and welfare benefits as that term is defined in state law during the term of their office. And it goes on to say, pursuant to the requirements of any health plan that the city participates in, any state law requirements, and then pursuant to any further rules that the city council would adopt. So we've gotten rid of all that language dealing with former members, but it does continue the ability for council members to participate in city health plans during the time that they are in office. That's the ordinance. The resolution, which I want to explain this evening, but I'm asking that you defer acting on the resolution until the time that you actually adopt the change to the ordinance. This would add a little bit more specificity to the program. And in addition to addressing council members, we have 2 other elected officials in the jurisdiction, the city treasurer and the clerk. And the city has historically provided health benefits, or the availability of health benefits, to all of its elected officials. So this would just confirm that all city elected officials would be eligible to participate in the city's health program. The city's contribution would be the same as the city unrepresented employees. This is a continuation, again, of the existing program, so there's not an increase or decrease to the cost to the city. It indicates that if elected officials decline to participate, they are not entitled to any additional compensation. It also indicates that elected officials continue to get a certain amount of life insurance, and elected officials are not covered by the city's long-term disability policy. For those elected officials that decide to participate in the CalPERS health program, what CalPERS requires is that elected officials at the same time be participating in a city retirement program. In order to satisfy that requirement, this resolution establishes a provision where the city would contribute $1 per month for those city officials that decide to participate in the CalPERS health program. And again, this is a nominal contribution, but it does in fact satisfy the eligibility requirements, or elected officials can continue with the CalPERS health program. It confirms that former city council members would not be entitled to receive any health and welfare benefits. There is one exception, and that relates to a former council member, Cedro Quesada, who served on the council, I believe, from '64 to 1990. Mr. Quesada is 92 years of age, and he's been on the city's health program since 1964. And so this resolution would authorize the city manager to continue to provide that coverage for Mr. Quesada and his spouse, essentially see through that longstanding commitment. So that is the ordinance and the resolution. What I'm asking for this evening is council to introduce the ordinance, waive the first reading, read by title only, the ordinance repealing and replacing Chapter 2.12 of the Galt Municipal Code.
Okay. Questions or comments from the council? If not, you've heard the recommended action. Is there a motion to that effect?
I move to approve.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Vice Mayor Powers? Aye. Councilmember Singleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Shelton?
Aye.
Councilmember Cruz? Mayor Payne?
Aye. Motion passed unanimously. Next item.
Next item, compensation for city clerk and city treasurer.
Okay, this item is, the purpose of this item is to clarify and update the compensation for the elected city clerk and elected city treasurer. Both these positions are up for election in November of this year, and it is my recommendation that the salaries be clarified and updated at this time. The council does have authority to set these salaries. There's very little guidance given under state law, but the council has not revisited this topic since the mid to late 90s. And there's not a recommendation for much of a change, but I think it's important to have a current resolution that makes clear what the compensation is for these two elected positions. The compensation for the city treasurer currently stands for the existing treasurer at $600. The recommendation is to maintain that compensation level. The existing compensation for the clerk is actually $100. The Attorney General has recommended that the compensation for elected officials be not less than what the council is receiving, which is $300 a month. So the recommendation in the resolution is to modify the city clerk compensation to $300. I do want to note, however, that the city clerk, Liz Dwyer, has indicated that she intends to waive receipt of compensation for this elected position and to only continue to receive her salary for her administrative position. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions the council has, and it's requested that the council adopt the resolution as proposed.
Questions? Questions? Okay. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve as presented.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Vice Mayor Powers? Aye. Councilmember Singleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Shelton?
Aye.
Councilmember Cruz?
Aye.
Mayor Payne?
Aye. Motion passed unanimously. Next item, please.
Next item, resolution adopting the revised position description and salary schedule for the clerk administrator.
Okay, this item, council, in 1996, the City Council established a regular full-time position of clerk administrator, and the clerk administrator position was classified as a management position that received the same benefits as city department heads. And over the past 15 years, partly because of the fact that Liz has served in both the elected and the administrative position, I think that there's developed a degree of ambiguity between those two positions. So what is presented to you this evening is a resolution that would accomplish several things. First of all, it would readopt the position description for the clerk administrator, reaffirming that this is in fact a separate position from the elected city clerk. It would again confirm the existing salary range for this position. There's not a recommendation of any increase or change in the salary. It's the existing compensation level. It would confirm again that the clerk administrator is a regular full-time management position, receiving the same benefits as regular full-time city department heads, which has been the situation since 1996. One unique item relates to the clerk administrator serving as the elections official. The city council has the authority to determine and designate the elections official for the jurisdiction. In the absence of making such a designation, the elected clerk would serve those duties. Because of the fact that that Liz is a master municipal clerk, it's my recommendation that that designation go to the clerk administrator position. So if in the future she were not to be the elected clerk or choose not to run, you may end up with an individual that comes to that job with not the same level of expertise and training that Liz has. In that case, our elections official would continue to be the clerk administrator, in this case, Liz. So I've added that to this resolution as well. And finally, just for clarification, I've indicated that this resolution supersedes all prior resolutions and minute orders relating to the position of clerk administrator. So again, more of a housekeeping item for your consideration this evening. Be happy to answer any questions the council has. The recommended action is to adopt the resolution as proposed.
This mostly is housekeeping, but are there any questions or comments for the city attorney? If not, then I would accept a motion on the resolution to be adopted.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Vice Mayor Powers? Aye. Councilmember Singleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Shelton?
Aye.
Councilmember Cruz? Mayor Payne?
Aye. Motion passed unanimously.
Okay, thank you.
Next item, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Galt, adding Chapter 9.48 of the Galt Municipal Code regarding social host liability.
Okay, good evening again. If recollection serves, I believe that this idea, the concept of doing a social host liability ordinance was first brought to the city and requested by Patricia St. James and Kathleen Amos. And after receiving their request, the City Council asked that staff look into the possibility of preparing a social host liability ordinance and prepare an ordinance for the Council's consideration. What a social host liability ordinance refers to is it's a law that holds individuals responsible for underage drinking events on property that they own, that they lease, or that they control. So the ordinance that's presented for Council's consideration tonight has three major components. First, the ordinance makes it unlawful for any person having control of property to host, permit, or allow a gathering on their property where minors are consuming alcoholic beverages if the owner or person controlling that property knows or should have known that a minor is consuming or has consumed alcoholic beverages on that property. So that's item one. The second is it would require that any person who is going to have a party on property that they control take reasonable steps to prevent the consumption of alcoholic beverages by minors. And then the last part is that whenever law enforcement, fire, or other emergency response providers have to come to a property because of a gathering and they determine that a minor has been consuming alcoholic beverages, the owner or person in control of that property would be responsible for paying the costs for that emergency response. So that's the last element of this ordinance. Now, I think that this ordinance would provide the police department with another arrow in their quiver as it relates to enforcing laws to prevent the drinking of alcoholic beverages by minors, to encourage people that are not minors, that are older, to act responsibly as it relates to the use of their property by not only their children but other minors in the community. And hopefully this would send a signal to the community that that underage drinking is something that we do not tolerate within the community. So I'd be happy to answer any questions the council has regarding this ordinance. The recommendation for this evening is to introduce the ordinance, waive first reading, read by title only, an ordinance adding Chapter 9.48 of the Galt Municipal Code regarding social host liability.
And I believe we have a speaker on this item. Kathleen, would you like to come forward now? Or both of you? Patricia St. James and Kathleen Amos originally made a presentation, and they do have some information if anyone in the audience would like a copy.
Yes, good evening. I am Kathleen Amos, and I do live within the city of Galt, and this is Patricia St. James, and she is a former employee of the elementary district and is still volunteering her services to help us on this issue. We are here from the Galt Youth GYAP, which is the Galt Youth Alcohol and Drug Abuse Prevention Group Coalition, and it is an offshoot. It's a coalition between the elementary district, the high school district, and the city, private businesses, faith community, really the whole community. The group is an offshoot of the Youth Master Plan, which we've all worked on together as well. We developed the Underage Drinking Parent Guide, which includes statistics regarding the Galt youth, which I will have Patricia pass these out while I'm talking about it, if you want to pass them out. I think we may have passed them out once before, but we'll give you another copy if you would like. Okay. It includes statistics about the Galt youth, the use of alcohol by Galt youth, and what the students told the Department of Education, the California Department of Education, in an online survey that was anonymous. The students from the Galt High School. The statistics that we've used were from that website. And other drugs as well as legal and illegal drugs. And we have developed it both in English and Spanish. We're giving you the English versions, but there is a Spanish version as well. Earlier this year, we did present a community forum with the support of Captain Bill Bowen. We did a community forum in English for educators, youth, and parents, and presented the underage drinking guide for parents, and talked about the issue and did some discussion about what kind of preventative efforts are possible. In the fall, we plan to do a Spanish forum, and we do have the guide available in Spanish, and we hope to do one similar to the one that was presented last winter. So now Patricia has some other information for you.
Okay. 2 years ago, Sacramento, the City of Sacramento and the County of Sacramento adopted this ordinance. Elk Grove already had the ordinance, and so did Rancho Cordova. I don't know which other communities have adopted it, but it's certainly a way of addressing underage drinking. The longer we can postpone drinking within an individual, the more likely they're not going to become addicted later. And that's the big thing. Right now, our youth drink a lot, and they drink a lot at one setting very quickly, and that's the danger that we want to attempt to intervene with. The biggest thing, the biggest outcome from this, and our chief of police can attest to this, as did our past chief of police, was also very supportive of this issue, is that it changes social norms. Many of us think, well, what we did when we were as teenagers, we lived through it, it's okay. Things have changed quite a bit, and it is dangerous. So this is a way of addressing this issue, and I don't see it as punitive in terms of, it's simple, you just don't have it available. So, any questions?
Any questions? Comments? No, but, oh, go ahead.
I have a comment. I know that you guys worked very hard on this, and I want to commend you again for all the hard work that you've done, and you're really making a difference by working on this project for so long.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's really the accountability piece. That the social host ordinance is another piece in the community, in building community support for the accountability of holding adults accountable. So we support the development of the Galt social host ordinance, and we hope that you will vote in favor of it. Thank you very much.
Kathleen. Okay, we should be pretty familiar with the ordinance now. Is there any discussion, any further discussion from
I would
councilmen?
like to ask something. I support this. But I'd like to ask, see, your nameplates are backwards, guys.
Keep you on your toes.
I almost called you Mr. Behrman.
It's an identity crisis.
How does this deal with, and I'm sure there's some parents out there that can attest to this, sometimes they'll go on vacation or be gone for a weekend or a week, and while the cat's away, they might as well play. So in other words, I'm asking, how's this going to deal with teenagers buying for teenagers and having that party? Are the parents that are gone that are unaware of it still going to be held accountable?
Well, the individuals that would be held accountable are people that knew or should have known of the drinking. So in a situation where the parents go away and there's a party that they had no knowledge of occurring on their property, then they would not be responsible.
Ideally.
I'm sorry?
Ideally, they would not be held responsible, correct?
Right. But you can have a situation where the owners of the house go away, and maybe they leave it, for example, in the care of a neighborhood young adult, maybe a 21-year-old,
Right.
and that person opens their house up to a party. Well, that 21-year-old in control of that property
Mm-hmm.
could potentially be held liable for the emergency response costs.
I noticed you had something about rentals in here. So if you have a person that's renting a home or a place and they have a party, underage drinkers, who's going to be accountable for that if the parents that are renting that facility are not available or not aware of the party?
Well, again, we're trying to focus on the conduct of individuals that know or should have known that their property that they either own or that they rent is being used in an inappropriate manner. So,
Okay.
if they knew about the conduct or they didn't act reasonably in making it available to minors, then they would potentially be responsible.
Okay, I just want everybody to understand I ask these questions because there's people out there, I'm sure, that may be thinking the same question. So, like I said, I do support this. But I want to also make sure that the people we're trying to make accountable are those people that are being irresponsible in letting this occur.
Good point.
And I think the other point to mention is that, we're not, the purpose of the ordinance is not to try to catch people. It's to try to change the behavior
Right.
of people that are making intentional decisions to either allow their property to be used for underage drinking parties,
Right.
or they are turning and looking the other direction purposefully in order to allow that conduct to occur. So we're trying to change that type of intentional behavior.
Yeah. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, ladies. I've worked with Patricia a few times, and thank you so much for bringing this forward.
Can I say one thing about?
I think the mayor would have you come, you have to come up to the podium. Sorry. Didn't wanna-
Sorry,
Okay.
Sacramento, the city of Sacramento was very concerned about this, and so was the county. Their concern was that if there's an apartment building owned by someone and somebody in the apartment building is having the parties, they didn't want the apartment building owner to be the person that was directed towards.
Right.
And the language there, that person's not the one that's responsible. It's people that are renting the apartment or renting the home.
That was part of my question.
Yeah,
That's why I was-
right. And so if we follow their language or something similar to that. That addresses what you're talking about.
All right, thank you.
Okay, and again, I want to go back to, there's some families that think it's perfectly okay,
Right.
and they're providing to anybody. Well, you know, as a parent, you want to know that your kids are safe in someone else's house, but not all parents get to meet the other parents.
Mhm.
So it's to address that, you know, parents just, or adults aren't just offering to anybody that's interested.
Right.
Okay, so, yeah, but it's a very, very good point, though.
Thank you.
Mhm. Good questions, and are there any other questions? Okay, are we ready to make a motion on the resolution, on the ordinance, excuse me?
I'll make a motion to accept. Are we waiting for that?
Yes. Don't all speak at the same time.
Second.
We have a motion and we have a second.
I was waiting.
Were there any other questions or comments? Okay, then I call for the vote.
Okay, Vice Mayor Powers?
Aye.
Councilmember Singleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Shelton?
Aye.
Councilmember Cruz? Mayor Payne?
Aye. Motion passed unanimously, and thank you very much.
Yes, thank you again.
Okay, the next item, please.
Next item, still under City Attorney's Office, Egg Lane Chickens.
Okay, this is an example of why I really like my job, because I just never know what I'm going to get to work on when I come to work every day. A couple of months ago, the City Council asked that staff prepare an ordinance allowing for the keeping of egg-laying chickens in the city of Galt. And the ordinance that is presented for your consideration is pretty brief, and what it would amount to is a change to the zoning code. And basically, what this ordinance proposes is that the keeping of 4 or fewer egg-laying chickens for home consumption would be allowed, that the chickens would need to be confined in a pen, coop, or other enclosure. This enclosure would need to be 20 feet away from any residential unit on adjacent properties. No chickens would be able to be slaughtered on any residential lot. No roosters, and that's the extent of the proposed ordinance. Now, the process for this adoption of this ordinance, since it's a modification to the zoning code, would be to present it to the Planning Commission for their recommendation, and then back to the council for their adoption. Before we went through the process of presenting it to the Planning Commission, we thought it was prudent to bring it to the council first to make sure that this draft matched the concept that the council had in mind when they provided the original direction. An additional piece of information I want to provide is I asked the Code Enforcement Department to provide me with some information on what kind of complaints have we had over the past several years, and this data was back to 2008 on chickens or roosters within the city. And there's been actually a fair amount of complaints, but relating to chickens and roosters, but about 75% of those complaints related to roosters. And the significant portion of the remaining 25% related to chickens that were not being confined. They were running around people's yards and trespassing, and you know those trespassing chickens can be a real problem. So that was the extent of the code enforcement history. So I think that what we proposed in this ordinance addresses a lot of the prior problems, no roosters, and that the chickens be confined at all times. So that's the proposal that's presented for your consideration tonight. What we're looking for is council direction, any modifications you'd like to see in the ordinance before we run it through the adoption process.
Just think you're making history, Steve.
Yeah.
I think we have a speaker on this item if she would like to come forward.
Pam Williams?
Hi, I'm Pam Williams, and I just recently bought a house here in Galt City. In previous years, I lived in Sacramento, and they kept chickens. People kept chickens in Sacramento, and I had numerous problems, myself and other neighbors, with the chickens. The problem is whatever the code is, people aren't going to adhere to the code. A couple of chickens, they find out, oh, we're not getting enough eggs to feed a family, to sell the eggs for profit. In comes more chickens. With that comes the roosters. Then you have problems with them not keeping the chicken feed or the chicken poop picked up, or the chicken feed in a metal can. In comes the rodents, bombarded with rodents, okay, chewing through my shed and tearing up stuff inside my shed, getting in the garage, tearing stuff up, mice in the house, tons of rats and rodents. I spent hundreds of dollars on rat poisoning, put it out in my yard, worried about my kids, little kids getting into it. Dog ate it, one died, one had to take to the vet, there was vet bills. Your neighbors aren't going to come over, they're not going to apologize, they're not going to pay your vet bills, they're not going to pay for the rat poisoning, they're not going to do anything that they're responsible for doing, because I know this, I've lived it. Then there's problems with the noise and the smell. There is smell. You have dogs next door to people who have chickens. Your dogs run back and forth. Every time they flap and make noise, dogs get excited. Run back and forth, back and forth. I've had neighbors' dogs actually get out of their, bust out of their yard several times. I look out the window, there goes the neighbor's dog with a chicken in their mouth going back home. And I've had chickens fly over into my yard. My dogs kill them. I've got dead chicken, feathers everywhere. Your neighbors aren't going to come over. They're not going to apologize. They're not going to pick it up. They're not going to pick up the mess. I've had chickens come in the front yard and dig up my flowers and plants that I had planted, because they dig in and scratch in the dirt looking for grubs and stuff. The neighbors aren't going to come over. They're not going to replant your plants. They're not going to pay for them. And it's going to be neighbor against neighbor. The city gets bombarded with calls of code problems and stuff. They come out, they try to resolve the matter. The matters generally do not get resolved. And what happens is the city gets tired of coming out. They start ignoring the problems because they feel they can't do anything about the problems. And then you've got triple the problems. And you've got triple the quality of life problems for the majority of the neighbors, when a handful of neighbors are keeping chickens that should be kept in the country. Galt is surrounded by country. It's surrounded by country and where people raise chickens and sell the eggs. I'm quite sure people probably sell them at the farmer's market. There's no reason why.
Your time's up.
Okay.
Thank you for your comment.
My point is it's a major nuisance, and that was one of the reasons why we moved away.
Thank you.
Okay. Comments?
I have a couple.
Okay.
I think I'm probably, not to sound funny or anything, but looking at the backyards that a lot of us have, I think if I had to have chickens 20 feet away from my neighbor, they'd probably be hanging out in my living room. Secondly, I'm probably leaning towards not having chickens in somebody's backyard. That's just me. But if for some reason we did, I have a problem with a couple of things. And I talked to Steve about this, and I looked up, what the city of Sacramento did do. If this comes into fruition, not knowing which way anybody else is going right now, I would want them to have to pay for a permit, because I think that we should know where everything is, where we're going to expect things to be going on, and I think it's another way to keep track of seeing how this is actually working if we're going to put it into place. And secondly, being an animal lover, I'm really concerned about what kind of, I really want very specifics about what kind of coop they should be in, because I really don't want animals mistreated in any way. So if anything was to go forward for me, it would have to be, and not saying, that I'm leaning that way anyway, a permit and actually some very specific language about how the chickens would be kept.
Is that something that you're asking to be added to the ordinance, or to the draft ordinance?
Yes.
If I could just provide a little bit further information. The ordinance that is presented for your consideration tonight was modeled most closely after the ordinance that's in place right now in the city of Lodi. The City of Sacramento ordinance, which I think was adopted about 2 years ago, does have a lot more detail. It does require that if you're going to keep chickens, which is limited to a maximum of 3 chickens per residential unit, that the owner of those chickens get a license, that they pay a certain fee for the licensing. It indicates the coop not be closer than 20 feet to the nearest neighboring dwelling. Chickens must be confined, properly caged, which is what we have also. Chickens are prohibited from being a noise disturbance. The coop must be well maintained and clean and be a minimum of 15 square feet and a maximum of 42 square feet. Must have 4 walls or roof. Be constructed of suitable material. Must be kept in the rear yard. Nesting boxes must be in the coop. Feces and feathers must be removed every 24 hours and shall be stored in an airtight container prior to disposal. Use of city-issued garbage containers is acceptable. And then the animal control officer would respond to perform inspections if a complaint is received, and then there's an opportunity to issue administrative citations. Now, as it relates to the enforcement of these type of provisions, for most of our animal control services, we do contract with the county for those services, but frankly, for like the noise complaints I was talking about earlier, those were actually responses that our own code enforcement folks did. So I'm not sure if we ended up with a permitting process with inspections. I'm not sure administratively how that workload would be divided between the county administrative folks and our one city code enforcement officer. So, but that I just did want to provide some more detail as it relates to what the Sac City ordinance in place currently looks like.
Okay, thank you.
We drafted this to keep it as simple as possible. We don't have staff to be able to monitor and permit and do some of the things that the city of Sacramento is doing. So we try to again model it after Lodi, kind of keep it simple. So my recommendation would be either don't do it, or do it in a way that does not become an administrative burden on staff, because we just don't have the manpower in order to enforce the kind of regulations and restrictions that the city of Sacramento has.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Councilman Singleton, please.
I've got to agree. You okay, Al? Okay. All right.
Please continue,
Excuse me.
Councilman.
I have a few issues I'd like to discuss now. I side somewhat with Mary Lou, but I used to raise chickens years ago. The roosters are the ones that are usually the issue and the problem. They're always squawking, always making noise, flapping to impress the hens and that kind of thing. The hens themselves aren't so bad. I also have a dog, and I've had chickens around the dogs, and my dog's different than others. I understand there's different dogs that do different things. I also want to know how big of an enclosure. Now I know you said the hen house was a specific dimensions, but the yard in which they come out and they feed and scratch and all that, I would like to see that also have some dimensions on that, and also so it can be escape proof. And by that I mean they can't get up over the fence into some neighbor's fence, or to irritate a neighbor. And also the I know we said only 4 chickens, but the idea behind this is raising food for your family, so I would also like to see somewhere in there where it's only for family use, not for resale.
Yeah, it does say that, it's for home consumption.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I'd miss that part then, okay. Because I don't want people,
Mhm.
you know, getting their neighbors to go in on it, and then pretty soon we see them selling them on the corner where they used to sell roses, so. And then like, I think you had mentioned in the Sacramento ordinance, properly maintained, facility for the chickens, it is very important. Because like you said, if it's not cleaned properly, it does create smell, disease, and other issues.
Mhm.
If we can get some of these in order and lined up, I wouldn't have a problem with it. The only thing with the permitting process is it puts a heavier burden on our staff, which we are, you know, everybody's having a hard time right now as is. I don't see why we could not, if there is an issue with some chickens. Rusty's very good in our city at taking care of things. That if there's a complaint, he'll take care of it. I'm sure ASAP, and he'll have it noted and logged in his book because he's very good at his detailed work. So that's just some of the things I'll be looking at.
Let me get a comment too. We did check with the city of Lodi to see what kind of complaints they'd received through their code enforcement, and it was minimal. They indicated that the biggest issues were roosters, even though roosters were prohibited in their code, just like ours are. We still have occasion when people have
Sure.
roosters and chickens now. People have chickens in their yards now. They're just not allowed to.
Yes.
And Lodi has similar problems, but they indicated it has not been a big issue for them.
Okay. Any other, Councilman Shelton, please.
Comment. If we're going to do this, I think it's something that we should consider, and I'm not volunteering to do this, but to hold a town hall meeting. I mean, everyone knows that I'm for, you know, Joe Q Public or a business, you know, coming in, and if a couple of council members, I mean, if no one will do it, I'll sit there with another council member, but I think the person that brought it up should be one of the main people. I don't want to.
You don't want to
But,
point fingers?
you know, you've heard from one person, I've heard some comments. I think we're all probably I've got some neighbors that I believe they do have some chickens. I have some neighbors that probably would like to have, you know, and I know a few that, I mean, they don't even have any animals, so they're not going to want any chickens around them. So, I mean, I think to get a better feel of how the citizens, you know, would be open to this or not. You know, if we had one short meeting, you know, announce it, I don't know. But I mean, through, you know, part of council doing that, what is, Jason, what do you
I
think?
mean, different options.
Yeah.
This would need to go back through the planning commission, so you could use
Right.
the planning commission meeting as the public
Okay.
kind of opportunity for
Okay.
people to come and
That'd be good.
talk to the planning commission and,
Sure, yeah.
and let them kind of
And
bid and get some comments, and then before it goes to the city council to take a final vote, and then people could come again, so you kind of give them two cracks at it. That's an option. Or you could have another separate meeting before the planning commission meeting, so you'd almost have 3 meetings. You'd have kind of initial meeting with a couple of council members and members of the public, and then there would still be the planning commission meeting, and then it would come to the city councils. I guess it's a matter of how many steps you'd like to see. But if the planning commission works for that public meeting that you're talking about, that might be a good option.
And I had written down, can we use part of that, part of the planning commission meeting to conduct that?
Mm-hmm. We can do some special advertising for that, and more than what we normally do for a planning commission meeting. Invite the public to come in and, you know, express their feelings about the matter.
Also, people are pretty good at emailing their council members their thoughts, criticisms, whatever, so that would be another opportunity to get input from the community. I agree. I think it's a good idea on something like this to get input from the community. Councilman Shelton, do you still feel that we need to have a special meeting that you would like to host?
No, I'm not volunteering. I'm not volunteering to host one.
Oh, I thought it was you and the unknown council member.
If staff and council is okay with this being conducted at the planning commission, we just give the commissioners a heads up.
Yep, sure.
You know.
Okay.
I mean, as far as having the chickens, I don't have either way. I can go either way with it.
Okay.
I was raised around a lot of animals, so.
Councilman Cruz, any
How about
comment?
feet, Phil, Councilman Cruz?
I just brought it up thinking I'd be helping people out, but I guess there's a lot of opposition to it.
Well, you heard some opposition.
Yeah, I don't think,
I mean, the really scary thing is people who were in favor of it aren't here this evening, so
no.
Well,
I would say send it to the planning commission and let the people vet it there. If they want it, great. If they don't,
I, for one, am glad that you're doing, we're here to do the will of the people, and that's what you did, so I appreciate you bringing that to us.
Okay. Is that the direction that we want to give then?
absolutely.
Do you want to vote?
Well, if I could actually ask for a little bit more clarification. So my understanding is that the council wants to continue the process, so we'll take an ordinance to the council, or to the planning commission for their recommendation. Do you want the ordinance to have some more specificity? Do you want it to have a permitting requirement added to what was presented to you this evening?
One of the things I heard from a couple council members was the concern about the enclosure itself, that it would be humane, it'd be a certain size, and I think adding some maybe similar language, maybe not the whole permitting process, but some language about the minimum size and maximum size of the enclosure to make sure it's done in a manner that is humane. And
Well, what I'm talking about, Mr. Merriman, was not just the hen house itself,
the
but
whole
let them
area
have
where
the whole
they're
area where they're going to be out.
They can't be out.
They can't be out.
They have to be,
Yeah.
stay in the coop.
In an enclosure, because they don't stay in a hen house all the time. They have to come out of the hen house to scratch around and pick on things, okay? And what I'm talking about is something where they cannot fly out of the enclosure that they're in to get to a neighbor's yard or something. That's what I'm talking about.
Would you clarify? I thought the ordinance read that they were to stay in an enclosure or a coop or
Yeah,
something.
the proposed ordinance is they can be confined in a pen, coop, or other enclosure at all times.
That's what I'm talking about, the pen. Yeah.
And, I'm way out of my zone here. I'm just a city guy, but, what I've seen is that there's actually a house, and then attached to that, there's an area where they can be essentially outside, but they're still enclosed, right?
Right.
So they don't have to stay in a coop. They can have a scratching yard to run around in too.
For a pen, but I think that's all kind of part of the whole enclosure. But,
Okay.
and then, so, the other thing we could add is the language on ensuring that feces and feathers are removed every 24 hours. Feed must be stored properly to prevent spoilage and to prevent access by other animals and rodents. So that kind of language could be added short of going the full distance on the permitting, if that's council direction. But if you want me to fold in a fee, licensing, permitting type process, that's council direction, I would need that this evening.
Well, I do, but, well, it's not overkill if people are just gonna start having them all the time in their backyard and we don't know who's got what where.
Okay. We need to get a consensus here on the permit so we can give direction.
I'm thinking if there's an issue with us having too many complaints, then we could look at permitting, but at this time I wouldn't be in support of permitting.
Councilman Shelton, do you have an opinion on the permit?
No, either way. I don't care whether we have one or not, honestly.
Okay, Councilman Cruz?
No,
No permit or no opinion?
no permit
No permit.
this time.
Yeah, I just don't see how our staff can handle the extra work for a permit. I'm a little concerned too about how our code enforcement officer is going to have the time to deal with this, but I think we can give direction to the planning commission and get the input from the people. I think we're living in a time where we're saying we like to see people raise their own vegetables and, in this case, maybe their own chickens. So I would be interested in getting feedback from the community and deal with it as best we can with the resources that we have available to us. So I'm hearing, and correct me if I'm wrong, that we're at this point not asking the permit process to be part of it. But I did hear a concern about the enclosure, maybe a little more detail on that, and then we would direct it to the Planning Commission.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay? All right. Are we ready to move on from the chickens? Next item then.
Approval of management salary schedule.
Okay.
Hold on,
We
Paula. Paula, hold on just a second.
We have another voice from the staff for a change.
Yeah, but Steve have all the fun.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Before you tonight is the recommendation to approve the proposed management salary schedule as mentioned in the staff report. All of the positions within the city of Galt are on a five-step range except for department heads, and that's because in 2007 they were placed in a pay-for-performance compensation plan, which gave them each position a wide range. And that compensation plan was eliminated in 2008, and since that time the positions have remained in a salary range. It's very inconsistent with all of the positions with the city, so the recommendation tonight is to go ahead and put them back into 5 steps. And this would not cause for any salaries to be increased. The top of the salary range will not increase at all. And
That one's dead.
Okay.
so I just want to make sure that that is clear, that this is not going to be increasing any current individual salary. This is just basically the range.
We're doing a lot of housekeeping tonight.
We are.
Okay. Okay, are there any questions on this? Oops. Try this.
Oh, wait a minute.
Okay. Comments or questions on this housekeeping item?
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Can you talk?
I can.
Can you read the recommended action, ma'am?
The recommended action is adopt a resolution approving the proposed salary schedule for management positions.
Okay, is there a motion?
Move to adopt.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Okay, Vice Mayor Powers, Councilmember Singleton,
Aye.
Councilmember Shelton,
Aye.
Councilmember Cruz,
Aye.
Mayor Payne.
Aye. Motion passed unanimously. Next item.
Unfreeze the Community Development Director position and freeze the Principal Planner position.
The item before you tonight is making the change to the Community Development Director position, which has been frozen since the former Community Development Director retired in June 2011. Since that time, the city's principal planner has been working out of class and in the position as the Community Development Director, and the recommendation tonight is to promote her to that position as the director, and in turn we would freeze the principal planner position, and that would stay frozen until future council action. And to make this happen and promote the current incumbent, there is a request for an appropriation that would cover salary and salary-related benefits. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions? Comments? Okay, if none, then would you read the recommended action?
Okay, number 1, unfreeze the Community Development Director position so that it can be filled by the current acting Community Development Director. Number 2, freeze the Principal Planner position, which will remain frozen and unfunded until future council action. And number 3, appropriate $11,725 to Community Development Personnel Services for fiscal year 2012-2013.
Can we take these in one motion, or do they need to be taken separately? Okay. Thank you. So you've heard the recommended action. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion or questions? If not, I'll call for the roll call vote.
Vice Mayor Powers? Aye. Councilmember Singleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Shelton?
Aye.
Councilmember Cruz?
Aye.
Mayor Payne?
Aye. Motion passed unanimously.
Mayor,
Thank you. Yes.
indulge me just for a second. I just want to make a brief comment. Sandy's not here this evening, but I just wanted to recognize her and the great job she's done for the city in the last year's acting capacity, and appreciate the council support for this, and look forward to welcoming her as the newest department head for the city of Galt.
Thank you. I thought you were going to keep that a secret, the way that we're going.
You're doing a good job.
Yeah, I'm sure she will. Okay, are you ready for the next item?
Next item, Public Works Department, unmet transit needs findings.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, this is really just an informational report to kind of let you know what went on with this process. As you probably know, majority of the funding we receive for our transit system comes from state funding, primarily what's called the Transportation Development Act. As part of that process, or part of the rules they have, which they have many, of course, the Sacramento Area Council of Governments conducts this process called the unmet needs findings, and they hold public hearings. There was one held in Galt earlier this year, where people have the opportunity to come and in an informal setting and express their concerns over or lack of transit service or other issues they have with the transit that's provided by the SCT link, or actually for any transit service provider in the county comment at any of the hearings. The key finding that they would make that could affect us is that there might be an unmet need that is reasonable to meet, and that's a key element of this process. Just because you have a need that's not being met doesn't mean that you can afford to do it, or there may be some other reason why it's not reasonable to provide that service. And fortunately for us, with their findings this year, with that there are no unreasonable or are no unmet needs that are reasonable to meet. So we're doing okay. As you recall, there was some discussion about the issue with we had some students in this area going to school in Sacramento. We were able to resolve that with some good work by SACOG and by Sacramento County, who actually dealt with that end of the issue. We were fine at our end here in Galt. It was up in Sacramento where they had the problem. The other thing I wanted to point out in this process was that actually there's two items. One is that again the city through its contract with Sacramento County as it provides this service still has to meet revenue requirements. In other words, we can't just run around a lot of empty buses just because we have the money to do that. We have to meet what's called a fare box recovery ratio. So that is kind of a constraint, if you will, on, again, providing service we might like to, if it really can't at least recover 20% of the cost in fares. The other issue that I wanted to bring up is not really our issue at this point, but it was brought up by the Sacramento Regional Transit District that they felt that because they needed money, and of course every large transit agency needs lots of money, and they can soak up all the money they can get. They were commenting that, gee, they have unmet needs they think they'd like to try to meet, and if we don't intend to use all of our TDA money for transit and want to spend some on roads, which is allowed under the law, that they should get that money. And we were not too much in favor of that. We really wanted to point that out again to the whole council and to the public in Galt that that is an area that we need to be vigilant on. And so far, SACOG has said no, you don't get to do that. But it is an area we wanted to point out. So with that, if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Any questions? Anyone?
No.
Actually,
Thank you.
I think I might be stealing your thunder, but I was
That's okay.
hoping to hear from Ms. Martinez about our current ridership. I understand it's almost doubled.
Come up to the podium.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for inquiring about the ridership. I checked today. For the month of June, we had a total of 944 riders. We are providing 3 round trips a day. Our midday passage is growing, so that's really nice to hear that midday, we're getting a lot of riders back and forth. That means we're bringing people from Sacramento to Galt. Go Galt. I just want to thank you for inquiring about that. And thank you for all your support. Richard, thank you for your support. And hopefully, once again, we get that reverse commutership, bringing people to Galt. Thank you.
Right?
Thank you.
If I could add to that, there was two points. One is that it's for the benefit of the public. That ridership number is referring to the new service going to Sacramento, the commuter service. We obviously carry much more than that throughout the course of our day and our dollar ride service and the other routes that we run. The other point I wanted to make, we heard a comment from Mr. Baldwin earlier about great response on a complaint. We received one from a rider on the commute service about the condition of the park and ride lot at Twin Cities Road. And I was quite shocked when I just basically passed the request on to Caltrans. They have an email system you can log into and basically file a complaint for a service like that. And I've had some moderate success in doing that, so I tried it again and basically copied their message and sent it off to Caltrans. And it was either one day or 2 days they had a crew out cleaning up that lot. I was very impressed, and I actually did get a thank you note back from the woman who had emailed me, which I also passed on to Caltrans with a big thank you on that. So the system does work sometimes.
It does.
Yeah.
Especially in golf, I think. Okay. This was just a report, but were there any questions from the council? I would just point out that we were excited over the month of May where we had 565 passengers on the commuter bus, and to hear that we have over 900, that's amazing. And I think it was just a really good team effort between SACOG and the staff, and it's nice to succeed, isn't it? Okay. So there's no voting on this, it's just a report. So then, let's see, where are we?
Number 9.
Okay.
Capital Improvement Program Project Update, June 30, 2012.
Well, there, I thought you were going to start off.
Go ahead. Well, I will start off, and this is a quarterly update that we bring back to the council on our capital improvement program. At the budget hearing we had last month, we presented the new fiscal year's worth of projects, actually new 5-year program, and we wanted to provide kind of a year-end report as far as projects that were underway, under construction during the last year, and then also looking forward to the new year, the schedule of when projects are being planned, what level, what stage they're in as far as design, construction, when we think the projects are going to be completed. And so that's what you have in front of you. There are also a number of projects that were completed last year now that have dropped off the list, and so we'll continue to update this, bring the council report on a quarterly basis. We put it up on our website so the public, if they're interested, they can go on there, take a look. If they want to know when this project is coming up, when a project is supposed to be completed, they can go online, take a look at the projects. I don't intend to go through the list, but I know Richard's happy to answer any questions. Richard, I don't know if you want to highlight any of the projects there that are on there. If council has any specific questions about any of the projects that you'd like to know more about, we'd be happy to answer it. The big project, obviously, is Central Galt Interchange, is still going very well, ahead of schedule, and I believe anticipated opening completion in November is still the expected timeline. So, Richard, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
I just thought I'd touch on a few projects that I think are of interest to the public, and I know the council. The Regional Law Enforcement Training Center, basically the range out the wastewater plant. We have had difficulty finding somebody to help us with this project. We actually sent out a request for proposals because in order to finish the environmental, we need to do a little more detailed design work, and we didn't get any responses. We regrouped and tried harder on our advertising, put it out again. We have had some requests from a few consultants to give them a little more time, which we have given them because we don't want to tell them no, they're not having to put a proposal in. So that's been a really interesting situation.
Is that in the design stage that we're not getting any response? Or?
Right, do the preliminary design work. We have a master plan right now, so you wouldn't think it's a whole lot of a big deal, but it is a specialty area, and I don't know if they felt it was too small or what, but we are getting some interest now, so we'll have something going forward on it. But it did slow us down.
Okay.
I also wanted to mention Walker Park bleachers are almost complete. That's another public item that I'm sure they'd like to see that. So that was good. And this August, we'll be seeing a whole bunch of pavement work going on with our slurry seal project, and then we have one overlay project, actually 2 overlays coming in, plus the the market parking lot resurfacing too. It's not it's a slurry seal, but it's still something that the public will see, and so I thought
So we'll be repairing our streets and roads
yes,
very soon.
spending over $1 million, $1.2 million we're spending this year on that. So.
Good to know.
And then lastly, we are working on the water meter retrofit project.
Very good.
I hope they'll report to you in the next month.
Okay.
Thank you.
Council members, any questions? No, I just have one on wastewater item 59E at the bottom of the page, lift station bypass improvements. What project is that? I know that's been a big concern to have that lift station, but I don't know if this is the one that.
No.
Okay.
Sorry. I assume you're thinking of Live Oak, the replacement and the new force main.
Mm-hmm.
That's a separately listed project that has actually started construction. Well, we've had the pre-construction meeting with the contractor. I don't think they've actually started work as of today, but any time now they'll be starting work. That'll go on for in the next year, I believe. So that project is moving forward. This particular project was a carryover from an older concept about doing a lot of work on our lift stations to set them up for bypass pumping, and we're kind of rethinking some of that. So putting the effort into maintaining the pumps so they aren't failing all the time, rather than waiting for them to fail and then have to work around them.
All right.
So.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
City Manager, did you have anything that you wanted to add to his comments? Any projects?
I think that's a great update. A lot of projects going on, a lot of things happening, and it's good to see you'll see a lot of work around town this summer, like Richard said, with the road project. A lot of roads are going to be slurry sealed this summer, and so residents that are adjacent or near those streets or live on those streets will be provided notices. So there'll be warnings in advance. You can know not to park on the street during certain days and so forth. So those will be coming out in the next month or so.
The roundabouts?
Roundabouts in design, getting close to completing that. We're still doing right-of-way acquisitions on that, so it's going well.
Okay. And I think we're just receiving this report also. All right, we're getting almost to the end. City Clerk, what else?
Just a couple reminders. Next week we have 2 meetings. On July 11th, the Parks and Recreation Commission meeting at 7 p.m. in the council chambers. And then on July 12th, the Planning Commission meeting will be held at 6:30 p.m. in the council chambers.
Thank you. I will go to comments by staff. Whatever staff is left here. No comments?
I don't want to steal any council members' thunders, but I want to make a comment as a resident of the city of Galt. I attended the 4th of July or the Independence Day celebration with my family and my brother and his kids, and it was a wonderful, wonderful event. And thanks to all the council members that worked so hard and staff. And I've been to every year since I've lived here. I've been here 6 years. That was my 6th one. I think that was the best one I've ever been to. Best fireworks display, just a great family time. Kind of small town Americana, so it's great to see the community come together for events like that.
I hope Armando's not here, but I hope
He's recovering.
All these all these good comments will be passed on to him as well, since he isn't here. Any other comments by staff? Then we will go to comments by council, and I'll start with Councilman Cruz.
Sure, pick on me first. The Eggman come up. Actually, 2 things. I'll start off with business. I'd like the next meeting to bring up the use of discretionary funds. I wanted to extend the military banner program that I've got going. Then on a positive note, even more positive than that, I wanted to extend my thanks to both Councilmembers Powers and Singleton and Armando Solis and his team. I can't repeat anything that you already said. It was awesome. My little boys had a blast out at the pool. let's do better next year. I mean, I don't know how you can, but let's go for it.
Okay.
Anything's possible.
Okay. You had requested to speak first because you wanted to say good things about these two council members.
I did.
Oh.
So now we're going to put them on the spot and see if they want to say some good things about some people. Vice Mayor.
Yeah, I was very pleased with the Independence Day celebration. I thought it was great, and like Jason said, it's what we want to have is it's kind of an old time get together with everybody in the community where you can stay home, not spend a lot of money, have a great time, get to meet all your neighbors, and do some fun things. The one good thing about next year is it will actually be on July 4th, so that will be exciting in of itself. But you know, we had all the tournaments, we had the exhibition hall that I was begging people to come and bring their stuff to. We were so surprised on the day that people just kept coming through the door with jams and jellies and pickled stuff. And I think we had more than 30 quilts, and our illustrious city clerk got a first place, as did another staff, Steve's wife. There were some beautiful quilts, and just a lot of fun. A lot of kids got involved in it. The Galt Herald did a great job on having a photo contest. I think that'll just get bigger next year too. The kids really had a fun time doing that. And I really, really do want to thank Armando and his staff, Debbie and Dan and Monica. You know, it wasn't just a job to them. They put their heart and soul into it all day and all 3 days and weeks before that, the whole year before that, planning everything. And I think that we all just had a really great time. It was a lot of work, but we had a really, really good time.
Thank you. Councilman Singleton, do you want to add something to that?
Pretty good.
Or just pack your
Wow, what a great time. No, I really, really had a good time. Part of the other staff for the Parks and Rec, besides Armando and Monica, was Kelly Keegan was on our committee, and Deborah Porteous helped us out quite a bit. And what's that?
Chris Dizelle.
That's it. Couldn't remember her name. Chris Dizelle. She was wonderful. What a great time. Everybody, I didn't hear one complaint from anybody that was there. It looked like it was twice the people we had last year. But it was just, everybody had such a good time. And that's what we're trying to do, is make sure it's a good, fun time where you don't have to spend an arm and a leg to have a good time and have your kids run around and play like they should be doing, exercising and having fun in the pool and stuff. I'd just like to take a second to, one more time, publicly thank, because I did it on Saturday also, our sponsors that made that possible. It was California Waste Recovery, PG&E, they contributed, F&M Bank, Walmart, Softcom, Phoenix Print and Image, Selden Brusa Insurance, Galt Herald, McDonald's, and I'd also like to thank our CERT team from CSD, our fire department from CSD, chief is in the back there, and also our police department for being out there and helping with any issues we had out there. I look forward to it being just a great time next year too. And thank you for the community for coming out and supporting us and letting us see your smiling faces. You guys dancing, it was great.
Okay. Councilman Shelton?
Yeah, I was there for a while. Looked like everyone was having fun, and I snuck off when the crowd got real big. So, but I watched the fireworks from South City, as I would say. I hope everyone has a safe and happy 4th of July. And I will again state that if you're going to celebrate with fireworks, don't be insane, don't be stupid. I want you to use safe and sane. Be safe, okay? We got people out there that are trying to help you. Make sure you don't get hurt. Make sure you don't do silly things. But enjoy it. And have a great week. Thank you.
Okay. I would just like to volunteer right now, again, to judge the jams and jellies, which I got to do. And then the next day, I had a ringside seat of the fireworks from my hot dog booth. So I think I probably gained some weight over those days. Yeah, I had a great time. It was fun to see everyone having such a good time. And I have to add to what everybody else has said, thank you to council members and staff and everybody that worked on it. I thought it was great. I just want to mention too, the senior club had their tea, and Councilman Cruz was there, I believe, yeah, and also Councilman Singleton. And one of the reasons I wanted to mention it is they went to a lot of work and effort to raise money, number one, to pay for their insurance, so the city doesn't have to pay for it for their use of the Chabola Center. But in addition to that, they gave a lot of scholarships out this year. Every place I went to give out scholarships, they were there. So I think they needed to be mentioned. Other than that, I would say everyone have a safe and sane 4th of July, and no fireworks up in the air. Stop that, you guys.
That's right.
With that, we are adjourned.
I want to show you where to put it.